The winter wind screamed across the high desert like a wounded spirit, dragging coils of snow through the pines and slamming them against the mountain cabin where Luke Harlow, once a drifting cowboy, now a quiet trapper, had taken shelter for the night. He thought he was alone up there, thought the world beyond his fire was nothing but darkness and storm, until the sudden thump against his door nearly sent his heart jumping out of his chest. When he unbarred it, rifle raised, he found not a thief or a hungry wolf, but an Apache woman collapsing into the snow wrapped in torn deerskin, shivering violently, her breath thin like the last flicker of a candle. Luke grabbed her before she fell and carried her inside, laying her close to the fire. At first she didn't speak, only watched him with half-closed eyes sharpened by years of hardship. But when warmth slowly returned to her face, she whispered her name: Nayeli, daughter of a renowned scout, separated from her people after the storm and hunted by a band of outlaws who had stolen food and blankets from their supply posts. Luke offered her the last of his stew, and she ate with quiet dignity, though her hands trembled. The fire crackled, the storm raged, and the cabin walls felt thinner than paper as the cold crept in from every edge. Luke added more logs, but even that barely held back the freezing air, and he could see her exhaustion deepening. When she finally stood, pulling his old blanket around her shoulders, she examined the cabin like a soldier measuring a battlefield, then turned to him and said, with a sternness that reminded him of a command rather than a request, "If we don't sleep in the same bed, we will freeze tonight. Don't resist. It is the only way." Luke froze, not from the cold, but from the shock that shot up his spine. He had slept beside women before, but never in a moment where survival itself demanded it. He cleared his throat, unsure what to say. But Nayeli stepped closer, her dark eyes steady. "This is not about shame or man and woman," she said softly. "It is about life, body warmth or death. You choose." And there was something in her voice, strength mixed with quiet, trust that made refusal impossible. Luke nodded, feeling the gravity of the night settle onto his chest, and together they moved to the single narrow bed pushed against the cabin wall. The storm howled so fiercely it made the timbers tremble, but inside the bed, beneath layered blankets and furs, their shared warmth slowly fought the cold back. Nayeli lay with her back against his chest, her breathing slowing, her heartbeat steadying. Luke kept his hands respectfully still, but she surprised him by guiding his arm around her, pulling it close for better heat. "Do not fear," she murmured. "The night is long. We survived together. Hours passed like slow-moving shadows while the fire dimmed into orange embers." She told him, in quiet fragments, about her people's migration, the sacred valley their tribe protected, the hardships they endured since the arrival of settlers and bandits alike. Luke shared his own tale, how he had come to these mountains seeking peace from a world that had taken more from him than he cared to remember. And in that small bed, wrapped in furs and the snowy silence of the high desert, two strangers began to understand each other in a way neither had expected. As dawn crept pale and silent through the frost-rimmed window, they rose to a softened world. Snow piled thick outside, the storm finally broken. Nayeli stepped into the morning light with a strength restored, and Luke found himself strangely unwilling to watch her go. But she turned to him, offering a faint smile. "When the wind returns," she said, "you will need more than a fire. You will need someone who listens to the mountains." She paused, then added, "And perhaps someone who trusts you enough to share a bed." Again, without fear, Luke felt warmth rise in his chest that had nothing to do with the fire. He handed her his spare gloves, his old scarf, and a promise. "Come back if you need shelter," he said. "Or even if you don't." Nayeli touched his arm in a gesture of gratitude that lingered longer than necessary. "I will return, cowboy," she said with quiet certainty. "The mountain has not finished with us yet." And as she disappeared into the vast white wilderness, Luke knew without a doubt that the coldest night of his life had brought him the warmest connection he'd felt in years. And so begins the legend of Luke and Nayeli, born from snow, fire, and a night that demanded trust over fear. If you enjoyed this story and want more Wild West legends filled with heart, danger, and destiny, make sure to subscribe to the Heartland Diaries for powerful daily tales.